Alright, let's do it. Whoops. Fuck you, man. Do I do the digging game now? I guess I do the digging game now. Ugh, I don't want to do the digging game. This is the worst part of this entire game. I hate it so much. Welcome to the treasure field, man. The object is to dig as many holes as you can in 30 seconds, man. Any treasures you dig up will be yours to keep. It's just 80 rupees, man. I don't know why he's Tommy Chong, but he is. I think Tommy Chong would want it that way. Come on, piece of heart, 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 piece of heart. What's going on, man? Yeah, I'm digging a hole. Having Darks in the chat channel. I can't stand this minigame. It is the worst minigame in any Legend of Zelda game. Play any of them and then play this, and it's throwing pumpkins and Skyward Sword, better than this. Doesn't matter. I really hope I get this done fast because I want to go to a dungeon where things are interesting. But I also promised myself, without actually saying it out loud, that I was gonna play this game in such a way that I was gonna get everything. All the items, all the heart pieces, all the upgrades. They shall be mine. Fuck. Wasted such valuable time. Come on, get that heart piece. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. It's in a random place in the field every time. So, I feel like, mathematically speaking, my best odds are to always dig the same pattern each time and wait for the heart piece to come to me instead of trying to chase it around the yard. Because then, you know, I might never get it. Odds are I'm gonna get it eventually if I just keep digging kind of in this bottom left corner here. Come on. I fucking hate this minigame so goddamn much. Yeah, I got there. I did it. Alright. Never coming back here again. Get out of here. Let's go to a dungeon and have some fun. So this is a cool thing that they do in this, when you walk into the Dark World dungeon that I was just about to go into, there's no way to progress because all the water is gone and you need to swim across. And, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I got a congratulations on the piece from my stream, and I love them. When I come in here now, see the water is gone, and I go in and, like, this is all flooded. This hallway is flooded now, and I can continue. If you go over here to this stairwell and talk to this guy, this psychic tile thingy, it says that things exist simultaneously in both worlds, and if you affect something in one world, it changes it in the other world. And this is the only time in the entire game that that actually happens. It's a really cool idea that they totally didn't follow up on. They could have had it set so that, like, there's all of these, they could have had it set up so that there's all of these scenes left and right all over the world where, if you mess with it on one side, it changes it on the other. It could have been a persistent game mechanic throughout the entire game, and they only do it right here, and it's a waste. It's such a waste. I think this bottom one's got a key in it. Man, I'm good at this game. Except for I'm getting the shit kicked out of me by water bugs, but beyond that. Get some. The item in this game is the item in this game. The item in this dungeon is the hookshot. This is the first introduction of the hookshot into the Zelda franchise, and it's like it went on to become one of the most popular items in Zelda games. It's in most of all of the rest of them. You think I've played this before? Yeah, believe it or not, I have played this before. I was saying earlier that I got this game when I was 7, and I think I've played it probably on average once every other year or so, once every year, once every other year, for the last 20 years. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. The hookshot's not the only item in this game that is a first. They I'm trying to think of what other ones there are though, because there's kind of a bunch. The bug net, the bottles. Let me look at them. The fire rod and the ice rod. Those are, well, the fire rod and the ice rod are kind of like the magic rod from Zelda 1. And the Book of Medora is kind of like this. It's not really like the spell book in Zelda 1, but it's a book. I don't know if that's similar enough. I think I need to go in the top room first, actually. I don't remember if this is the block that I can push. No. And I almost said the hammer is a new one for this game too, but it isn't. It was in, it was an item in Zelda 2, but it didn't have the same functionality. You used it to break, like, one boulder at one point in the game. Like, it had just enough functionality to be useful once, and then I don't think it was ever used again. Now, I could leave those blue spikes down and go through here, but I actually want the blue spikes to be up, because when the blue ones are up, the orange ones are down, and I'm going to need the orange ones to be down later. So rather than backtrack... Fuck. Gotta dodge that fire line thing. Damn it. This dungeon was made before the... No. This dungeon was made before Zelda water dungeons were as focused on environment puzzles as they are now. It was Ocarina of Time that really kicked off the tradition, I guess, of really complex water dungeon puzzles. This game didn't really do that. Although I think it is the first water dungeon. Like in fact, this game kind of across the board had thematic dungeons before anywhere else. Like there was a desert dungeon earlier, and there's going to be like like a graveyard kind of dungeon later, and like a prison dungeon. Like it has themes. Zelda's 1 and 2 didn't have that. Fudge the OOT water temple. A lot of people say that. I've never really understood the hatred for the Ocarina of Time water temple. I think that the difficulty in that dungeon is definitely not the combat, that's for sure. It's definitely trying to figure out the environment, making sure the water levels are correct, checking all the rooms several times in some instances. Like, you'll go to some place, there'll be a locked door, later on you find a key, you gotta go back to that, like, there's a lot of backtracking and a lot of, like, map exploration in that dungeon. But I feel like that's the only reason that dungeon was hard. And if you have a very methodical kind of you know, search pattern exploration, like if you're very methodical in looking around for things, then it becomes kind of an easier dungeon. This is kind of an interesting thing. So kill these without dying. I would really like to not die. It's important to me to not die. This button, when you press it, that door opens. The game kind of wants you to go through that door. This is actually the better door to go through. That button also opens this one. For me, it was the center room, raising the water level, and using the boots to sink to the bottom. Yeah, it was a lot of, like... I kind of feel like I'm... You know what? I think in 3 dimensions when I play video games that require you to think in 3 dimensions. And that's not... that's really not difficult for me to do. I don't know why... Wait, I didn't realize the boots would also let you walk on the spikes at the bottom. Do they really? I don't remember that. Damn it. I know this game in and out, but I can't dodge bad guys worth a good goddamn. Yeah, I don't recall that happening. I'm sure it does. I'm not telling you you're a liar, but I don't remember that. I know a lot of people struggle with, like, it's the same thing like with Vashir. I get a lot of the same complaint from Vashir, where they're like, it's in 3 dimensions, it's difficult to you know, not plan out where you're going, but, like, figure out where objectives are and how to navigate them in a 3-dimensional space. The water temple did... Oh, man, I can't kill these things from up here. I gotta, like, kite them up here. Here we go. But I've kind of never struggled with that. I always felt that, you know, if you look at the area with the swimming mechanic in mind, and kind of, like, okay, if the water level is at this, then I'm going to be able to do this, but if it's over here, I'm going to be able to do that. At least I think it did. It's been 15 plus years since I've played. Yeah, it's been a minute since I played Ocarina also, man. I think I should I ought to give that one a replay as well. I feel like it deserves it. I give it a lot of flack sometimes for missing the mark on a couple of things, but... I think this is another one of the bosses that's weak to the Ice Rod. There's a couple of bosses in this game that are, like, really, really, really weak to the Ice Rod. This one and the worm boss from the second dungeon, the desert dungeon, are the ones that immediately come to mind. Got him. I missed. I'm gonna die. It's alright. It's not real. Your mind makes it real, but it's not real. Aha! Fuck. I got one more shot. I did it. Ice rod only. I'm out of magic, but that's not going to hurt me anytime soon. Oh my goodness, I'm out of water. I feel like I'm constantly out of water. Rescue this girl inside of this rock. The Triforce will grant the wishes of whoever touches it so long as that person lives. That's why it was hidden in the Golden Land. Only a select few knew of its location, but at some point that knowledge was lost. The person who rediscovered the Golden Land was Ganondorf the Evil Thief. See, in the last dungeon they talked about Ganon, and then previous to that they only talked about Aghanim. Now they're talking about Ganondorf. He couldn't figure out how to return to the light world. Remember that you have magical powers, which only the hero can make the most of. I don't have any magic. There are magic warping points like the one you saw on Death Mountain. Using them, you can go between the two worlds and find the evils hidden in the Dark World. You are the only one who can destroy Ganondorf the Thief. No, Ganon, the King of Darkness. So, like, first of all, Link has magic because he has magic items, but beyond that, he himself doesn't have any magic. He did in Zelda 2, though. That game was tight. People don't think so, but they're wrong. I need fairies, and I know where to get them. I had another thought, and I don't remember what it was. Killing things with the ice rod. Rescued the girl. I had to fight Ganon. I forget what... I had another thought, and I forget what it was. Nope. Nope. Alright. Was 2 the silly side-scroller? Yes, it was. Zelda 2 was the one that was primarily side-scrollerish. And it was a departure from the original in a lot of ways, but it also introduced a lot of things that are kind of mainstays now in the Zelda, I don't know, ethos. I really like that game. It's really difficult. I'll give it points for having, like, a difficult combat system. There's almost no puzzles to it, because it's, like, it's just about exploring the dungeons. But I think it's a stronger title than most give it credit for. They tried some different. They tried some stuff that was different in Zelda 2, and I always give Nintendo credit for trying things that are different. But more than that, in like the way the story goes, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but I got actually people I'm actually talking to now. The way the story goes is it's a continuation of the Zelda 1 story, where you collected the Triforce of Power and the Triforce of Wisdom, and you saved Princess Zelda. In Zelda 2, you go north, like above, like north of Death Mountain, and you encounter like all the Hylian people who escaped Hyrule when Ganon took over. And you're set on a mission to go gather up the Triforce of Courage. And that's what you spend the whole game doing, is looking for that. But you do it with the, like, in possession of power and wisdom. So for the only time in Zelda's history, Link is, in every sense of the word, like a battle mage. Like he's a wizard with a sword and shield. Like it's totally crazy. Oh, I'm stuck. He shoots fireballs, and he has a mana bar, and he you know, besides just shooting the lasers from his sword, which you can do, he He can shoot fire. He can give himself magical, like, damage reduction spells. He can, you know, cast a spell to make him jump higher. All kinds of cool shit. And it was a really interesting interpretation of the character that I really wish that they had continued with going forward. I want to play a Zelda game where Link isn't just magical because he uses items. He's just magical. Like, I want a Zelda game where I'm swinging a sword 1 minute and then I go, nah, you know what? Fireball! And I just blow somebody up. That'd be badass, man. I also want to play a Zelda game where I play as Princess Zelda, but I doubt that I'm going to get that anytime soon. I mean, we had Hyrule Warriors, and Hyrule Warriors was really cool. But, you know, I don't really think, and I think that most would agree on me agree with me on this. Hyrule Warriors isn't exactly a core Zelda game. It was cool though, and Princess Zelda was a badass if you were controlling her. If you were anybody else and Zelda was like an NPC, she was weak and afraid and wimpy and oh please save me, which is something I've always really hated about the way Zelda as a character is sometimes interpreted. But if you play as her, oh my god, she'd fuck you up and not think twice about it. Didn't play Warriors. It's worth a rental, I think. I don't know that it's necessarily worth buying. It's basically, think Dynasty Warriors with Zelda characters. It's a completely different kind of game. It's nothing like this or Ocarina or any of them. It's just, you know, it's different. But it's cool. It's fun. I just realized I'm a little bit over schedule or overtime on this segment, so I am going to grab this heart piece, take a very quick edit break for the YouTube videos, and then come back to it. Haven't heading out. Alright, you guys have fun. See you later. See ya at least on Tuesday, if not before, yeah? Alrighty. I too shall be right back. Whoops. There it is.